There are probably hundreds of boxing movies throughout cinema history, but why are they so powerful? Why do they move us so deeply, while other sports films, NFL, baseball, and others, rarely do the same? To understand this, we need to look closely at what's really happening in these stories, in films like Cinderella Man, Rocky, and Raging Bull. The first key point is that boxing reflects the difficulties of life itself. These stories always unfold in dramatic environments, whether it's the harsh streets and neighborhoods of Raging Bull or Rocky, or the battlefield inside Robert De Niro's character, Jake LaMotta's own mind, fighting against his own demons. Sometimes it's an external collapse, as in Cinderella Man's Jim Braddock, where a once promising life is suddenly crushed by poverty and misfortune. Other times it's the slow erosion of purpose, the feeling of wasting one's talent, as with Rocky before his rise. One way or another, all these protagonists are forced to face both the world and themselves. The iconic Rocky training montage is not about muscles, rather, about perseverance. They struggle, fall, and rise again, learning that every victory demands discipline, preparation, patience, and sacrifice. Luck might give you an opening, as it did for Jim Braddock, the Cinderella Man, or even Rocky himself, but luck alone never wins a fight. In life, as in the ring, you only triumph after enduring every hit and still choosing to stand back up, giving everything you got, enduring the process and working really hard. The second point is that, as with every sport, what we're truly watching is the overcoming of challenges. For some, boxing might look like just another form of escapism, but watching the fight of these boxers awakens something inside us, reminding us that our own struggles are worth facing. The ring, then, becomes a concrete and material projection of an invisible truth. Every human being is already fighting a battle within. Because life in this world is constantly and inevitably a fight, at every moment in all aspects of life. Each punch, each round, is just a visible metaphor for an interior fight, against weakness, fear, despair, the fight to keep living when life itself feels unbearable. The ring projects and mirrors our own reality, and in life, as in every boxing film, the greatest enemy is never the opponent standing in front of you, but the one inside you. The hardest battles are not fought under bright lights, but in the silence of their conscience. These protagonists face the same inner struggle we all face in our daily lives, a fight against ourselves, against the environment constantly pulling us down, and against the temptation to give up on life itself. They struggle to keep believing that life is worth living, that we can rise again, that even when everything seems against us, beneath the weight of hardship and defeat, there's still something worth fighting for. After all, how many of us lose that inner fight when we give up, betray our values, or stop being faithful to what's right? Jake LaMotta, for instance, didn't lose to his rivals, but to himself. The victory inside the ring is only the reflection of a much deeper one, the inner victory. It's the triumph that comes from not giving up, from fighting day after day to fulfill your duty and stay faithful to what truly matters. For Jim Braddock, that meant fighting for his family during the Great Depression. For Rocky, it was proving to himself and to everyone else that he wasn't a loser. Each boxer, in their own way, embodies this same universal struggle. The boxing ring turns what's invisible, pain, endurance, faith, into something we can see. That's why these stories hit us so deeply. Inevitably, as the underdog against the system, the fighter becomes a living symbol of hope. Rocky stood for the ordinary man who refuses to quit. Jim Braddock inspired an entire generation to believe they could rise again, even in the hardest times, after the Great Depression of '29. Because even when everything seems against us, poverty, defeat, the system itself, the fight is never just about winning a title. It's about proving that the common man can still rise, overcome obstacles, and find meaning in the struggle itself. Because boxing movies aren't about sport. They are a metaphor of the battles we face every day in our own lives. The real victory is never the title, but the courage to fight one more round, when your body says you can't, but your soul says you must, proving that the human spirit still stands tall, even when everything else collapses.